Okay, today we're going to graph using reflections, and it says graph the image ABCD after reflection across the x-axis. Well, what's the x-axis? This is the x-axis, so this is your mirror. And so if this right here is C, then we would need C prime. See that C is 2 units from the purple line, which is the x-axis. So we would put the new C 2 units above the purple line, and so that would be C prime. Then on B is right here, which is 7 units below the x-axis. So we would go 7 units above the x-axis. Let me put that in purple. And so that would be B prime. So then you'd have a line right there. Then we would just kind of complete the triangle. That would be D prime, and that would be A prime. Right. So that would be your answer. And so let's just talk about that because we're going to need it for L6. Yeah, L6. So what happened is our original C was at -2. Where did C prime end up at? -2, +2. B, original B, was at -2, -7. B prime ended up at -2, +7. So what could you figure out? What could you infer? What could you possibly think is happening anytime you reflect across the x-axis? Look at these numbers. Look to see what changed. Look to see what stayed the same. And again, this is your x and this is your y. This is your x, this is your y. So if we're looking at this, if we reflect across the x-axis, what happened? Our x's stayed the same and our y's went opposite. So reflect across the x-axis, keep your x opposite your y. And that's going to be the rule that we're going to use for L6. Okay, now we're going to reflect across the y-axis. The y-axis is this axis. And if we choose F right now is at -3, -10. Let's see where F prime ends up at. If we're reflecting across the the y-axis, F was 3 units to the left of the purple. So we're going to go 3 units to the right of the purple, and that's where F prime's going to be. Where is that? That's at +3, -10. My stylus is not wanting to work. G, again, is 3 units to the left. So we would go 3 units to the right, and that would be where G prime is. So G was at -3, 0, and G prime ended up at +3, 0. And to get to E, we would go to 9, and then that would be your H. So when we reflect across the y-axis, look to see what stayed and look to see what changed. Well, in this case, if we reflect across the y-axis, you're going to keep your, that's a your, that is not, that's a nasty your. Your y opposite your x. That's the rule again that we're going to use on L6. Okay. Y equals -6 is right here. And so D is 2 units from the purple, so we're going to go 2 units above the purple, which would be right there, D prime. E prime, and B is 3, so we would go 3, that would be B prime, and then we go up there for C prime. You can kind of see the mirror image on this. Now the rules on crossing a y-axis or an x-axis, or sorry, a y line or an x line is a little bit long and complicated. I'm not going to go over that during this lesson because it's not going to be really useful until we get to L6, but we will go further when we get there. Okay. Y equals x. If you recall in Algebra 1, y equals x is this line right here. It splits the first quadrant and the third quadrant. I can't even talk today. The first quadrant and the third quadrant in half. So that is y equals x. So think about this being on a piece of paper, and if you fold the piece of paper along the purple, where would S end up at? Now S right now is at 1, 8. And if you had it on a piece of paper, S prime is going to end up at 8, 1. Okay, that would be S prime. R is at -5, 8. Oh, maybe I need another pen. No, maybe I can just now. See if this is any better. -5, 8. And so R prime is going to be at 8, -5. 8, -5. R prime, 8, -5. Oh, that's working a whole lot better. Okay, so then we would have this line, and then T is right now at -9, 2. So T prime is going to be at 2, -9. And we would have this right here. And it's hard. I mean, I don't have it on a piece of paper. You can't see my hands if I showed you that you're folding it along the purple. But if you fold it along the purple, they're going to match up like that. So if you're reflecting across the y equals x line, x goes to y and y goes to x. You just switch them up. This says y equals -x. Okay, y equals -x is the negative slope of y equals x. So it's going to split the second quadrant and the fourth quadrant in half, and it's going to look pretty much the same way as y equals x, but it's going to go from down and right. So E right now is at 2, 1. E right now is at 2, 1. And so on this one, we're going to be at -2, -1. That's going to be E prime. 2, -1. -2, -1, sorry. F is at 6, 1. So F prime is going to be at -1. I'm wrong on this. Back up. My bad. Okay. So if E is at 2, 1, E prime is going to be at -1, -2. It helps me if I put that closer to each other so I can look. F right now is at 6, 1, so F prime is going to be at -1, -6, -1, -6. And then G, and I'm just kind of slopping all this on here, 6, 9. So what do you think G prime is going to be? -9, -6, -9, -6, and then you can kind of finish it off like that. But the rule for this is X goes to opposite Y, Y goes to opposite X. You switch your X's and your Y's and you make them opposite of whatever they are to begin with. So we didn't, all of these at the very beginning were positive, so we switched them to negative. But if they would have started out negative, you would switch them to positive. Same thing. So I guess I get to kind of explain what that is. Let's just do this first. A, B, C. A is at 5, -2. B is at 10, -2. C is at 9, +2. So A prime is going to be at +2, -5. B prime is going to be at 2, -10. And C prime is going to be at 10, -2. So 2, -5, 2, -5, 2, -10, and holy moly, what in the world did I do on that one? Golly, that was just so wrong, it was ridiculous wrong. I think I'm just trying to go way too super fast on these. Negative, -2, -9, -2, that doesn't make sense. Oh, yeah, it does. So there you go on that. That would be your triangle. If you folded the paper along the purple line, they would fall upon each other. Okay. X equals 4. -4 is right here. Again, just like that Y equals -6, I think it was a while ago. This is X equals -4. Anytime you have something like that, it's going to be a little bit more complicated than just the regular ones that have real nice, easy rules with it. So on D is how many units from the purple? Looks like 5. So we'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and put a line right there. And E is one more away from what D was, so E is going to be right here. So D prime and E prime. And vice versa, because we know C is right below D, then we're going to put C here and F here, because it was one more away from C than what F was. Okay. So there we go on that. Again, there is kind of a rule for it. It's not easy, it's not fun, so we're going to get to that when we get to L6. That's it.